You want to know the real reason why so many people get depressed during the winter months? Here's what might shock you. It's actually not vitamin D. Now, before you click away, hear me out, because this is going to change everything you thought you knew about winter depression. Vitamin D is involved, sure, but not nearly as much as you've been led to believe. I've done countless videos on vitamin D, especially for depression, and I keep hearing from people who say they take vitamin D all winter long and see absolutely no change in their mood. Well, if that's you, this video is going to be a game changer. Vitamin D does play a role in the bigger picture, but it's just one tiny piece of a massive puzzle that most people completely miss. When we talk about that heavy sadness that creeps in during the winter months, we need to understand the biggest difference between summer and winter. Obviously, we have dramatically more sun in the summer. But here's what most people don't realize, and this is critical. Sun doesn't just hand you vitamin D and call it a day. It's actually involved in triggering over 2,000 different genes in your body. 2,000 genes that activate serotonin, which is literally the chemical that makes you feel happy. Genes involved with melatonin, which is another crucial hormone. Genes that control your thyroid function, genes that even affect your gut microbiome, and many, many other effects that science is still discovering. Now, when we look at depression, let's define what we're actually talking about here, because people automatically assume it's just a mental problem, something broken in your mind. But in reality, especially during the wintertime, it's often not even sadness in the traditional sense. It's the complete inability to feel pleasure or reach those higher states of emotion. It's the frustrating inability to feel happiness from things that should be rewarding. And this gives us a fascinating perspective, because there are so many things that can be done to actually elevate your emotional state that don't involve popping medications like SSRIs or antidepressants. At the very root of this entire issue, we're dealing with a serious problem with your internal clock. You have a master clock sitting in your brain that activates what's called your circadian rhythm, and that clock is controlled by many factors, but primarily it's controlled by light. So in the wintertime, obviously it gets darker much earlier, right? I mean, in the summertime where I live, it stays light outside until 9 o'clock at night. But right now in winter, it gets pitch dark by 4:30 or 5 in the evening. Just the simple fact that it's darker earlier pushes us inside our homes. It exposes us to way more artificial light. And this has an absolutely massive effect on our hormones, on the timing of our sleep cycles. We naturally want to go to bed earlier when it gets dark, but of course, most of us don't actually do that. We just push through it, staying up late anyway. And then, of course, we have the temperature factor. It's freezing cold outside. So that also dramatically affects our physiology in ways most people never consider. There's actually a specific condition called seasonal affective disorder, and it's completely driven by this misaligned circadian rhythm. We're not going to dive too deep into that diagnosis in this video, but one of the most powerful tools to solve this entire problem is morning light exposure. Now, of course, when it's absolutely freezing outside, you're probably not going to be rushing out there to get that light. But that early morning light is so incredibly powerful for setting up your entire circadian rhythm for the whole day and even for that night's sleep. But when it's bitter cold outside, we naturally stay indoors. So winter doesn't just mess with your mood a little bit. It completely desynchronizes your entire biology in a massive way. I need you to step back and look at this problem, not just from the narrow lens of vitamin D deficiency, but from understanding the whole interconnected system that's breaking down. Let's start with this fascinating piece of the puzzle called melatonin. You've probably heard about melatonin affecting your sleep, because when melatonin levels rise in your brain, it helps you fall asleep at night. What triggers melatonin production is darkness. Obviously, in the winter months, you're getting significantly more darkness. which is going to give you more melatonin production in your pineal gland in your brain. But here's where it gets really interesting. There's another type of melatonin that exists in a completely different system throughout all your cells. And that melatonin does something entirely different. It's located in your mitochondria, your cellular power plants. It acts as a very powerful antioxidant. And the way that you mostly get that cellular melatonin is through infrared light from the sun. So we end up with this problematic imbalance where your brain might have way too much melatonin, making you feel tired and sluggish, but the rest of your body, your cells, might have far too little melatonin. This throws off the entire balance of your melatonin systems, sending confusing signals during the day when you absolutely don't want them. And then, of course, we arrive at vitamin D, which is definitely a piece of this complex puzzle. But here's something most people don't know. Vitamin D isn't even technically a vitamin at all. It's actually a hormone that's involved in literally over 2,000 of your genes. It's a powerful hormone that activates serotonin production, the crucial hormone involved in regulating your mood. And millions of people take antidepressant medications trying to fix this serotonin issue. But recent research has shown there's actually no solid proof that these medications work as advertised, and they can actually make things worse in many cases. That's a whole other topic for another video. But the critical point here is that vitamin D is absolutely necessary to make sure you have enough serotonin in your system, and also to recycle that serotonin correctly through your brain. And you also desperately need vitamin D for another really important brain chemical called dopamine, especially in the dopamine receptors, to make sure they're sensitive enough to actually work properly. When you don't have enough dopamine circulating, or when you have this sensitivity problem with the receptors, you're going to feel emotionally flat and numb. You're not going to be able to experience those higher levels of positive emotion, and that's where you sink into sadness or even feel completely apathetic about life. So vitamin D helps dopamine work dramatically better within its receptors. You'll have more natural motivation to accomplish things. You'll have more ability to experience genuine pleasure from activities and relationships. And having enough vitamin D helps keep brain inflammation down, which is crucial because there's a huge proven connection between brain inflammation and mood disorders. But vitamin D also protects you against mitochondrial damage in your cells. So many people who feel sad or depressed are simply lacking fundamental cellular energy. Now let's get into the problem of artificial light. And this is huge. You have excessive blue light blasting from your cell phone screen or your computer late at night, or even from your television. This absolutely destroys your natural rhythms and sends your brain and your circadian rhythm into massive confusion. So again, we keep coming back to this fundamental light issue. Think about it. Long ago, ancient humans didn't have any of this artificial light pollution. When this entire delicate system starts breaking down because we're lacking real sunlight exposure, we don't produce enough serotonin. Obviously, we don't generate enough vitamin D. Our cellular melatonin levels crash, and you start feeling this vague sense of not wanting to do much of anything. You lose your motivation to engage with life. You feel kind of tired all the time, and you start intensely craving all the wrong foods, especially those refined carbohydrates and sugar. This then sets you up on a dangerous blood sugar roller coaster because of your brain's dependency on glucose and its inability to use it efficiently because you've developed insulin resistance. And when you essentially starve the brain of stable energy and you don't convert your metabolism to using ketones as fuel, your brain can become extremely tired and deeply depressed. Now, here's something else I need to share with you that most people miss entirely: the powerful relationship between sun exposure and your thyroid function. During the winter months, your thyroid can suffer tremendously, and it's not just from the lack of sunlight, it's also the extreme cold. Have you ever noticed how people tend to get sick right when the seasons change, usually in the fall? All of a sudden, everyone's getting sick. That's because the thyroid gland can't adapt to that temperature drop fast enough. This puts enormous stress on your immune system. And think about the cascading effects here. If your thyroid isn't working optimally, your energy levels plummet. Your mood crashes down. So many people with thyroid problems experience significantly lowered mood, depression, or intense anxiety. They also develop cold intolerance, they suffer from terrible brain fog, and they gain weight much more easily. Now here's another fascinating connection. Your gut microbiome is also dramatically affected by the temperature outside and by sun exposure, also affected by the massive shift in diet that happens during winter months. So many people, especially during the holiday season, completely abandon their healthy eating plan. And then their entire microbiome shifts toward the wrong bacterial balance. And our bodies during the winter months are actually not designed to consume sweet things, not even large amounts of fruit. This is exactly why eating seasonally is so important. Fruit isn't naturally in season during winter. We're not supposed to be eating any sweets or excessive sugars during the winter months. When we do, it negatively affects the microbiome, which then directly affects your neurotransmitter production. In fact, most of the serotonin made in your entire body is actually produced by your own gut microbes, not your brain. And this could also be a major part of the reason why people get physically sicker during the winter months as well. If we take a broader view of this whole problem, we're really dealing with something called an ancestral mismatch. This basically means we haven't successfully adapted to modern life. Our biology is still designed for a completely different environment, one without all this artificial light pollution, without all these highly refined processed foods everywhere. That being said, our biology has successfully adapted to cold temperatures. Cold is not your enemy here. It can actually be very, very beneficial for your health to go through natural cycles of cold exposure and then warmer temperatures. As long as you are exercising regularly, as long as you maintain physical activity, your body will actually thrive in that cold environment. But if you combine a completely sedentary lifestyle with constant artificial light exposure and terrible food choices and sitting inside all day long, that combination is absolutely disastrous for your mental health. So what can we actually do to fix this? Number one, and this is probably the single most important lever you can pull to make real change with your mood during winter. You absolutely need to be exposed to morning light, either outside in natural sunlight or indoors with the right equipment. If you go outside, expose your face to the sun. Don't stare directly into the sun, but allow that sunlight to enter your eyes naturally. This is super important. And even if you're wearing clothes, the infrared radiation from that sun will penetrate right through your clothing. It goes straight through fabric. Or you can simply buy an indoor full spectrum light. You can position it somewhere near your computer or workspace and expose yourself to it for 15 to 30 minutes, right when you wake up in the morning. That morning light exposure is going to dramatically reduce melatonin at the right time, and it's also going to help you sleep much better at night, especially if you anchor your nighttime routine with significantly less blue light exposure. You want to start dimming all your lights down about 90 minutes before you plan to go to sleep. Don't expose yourself to that harsh blue light from your cell phone or tablet right before bed. And you want to be very consistent with the exact time you go to sleep each night. I personally tend to go to bed around 10 o'clock during winter months. Then I'll wake up around 6:30, maybe 7 in the morning. The other thing that's really, really important is completely controlling your diet. Don't give in to the junk food cravings. In fact, when you go grocery shopping, bring a written list with you. Never go to the grocery store when you're hungry because you are absolutely going to buy things you shouldn't be buying. So in other words, don't keep any junk food in your house at all. When you eat highly refined sugars, you're feeding them directly to your microbiome, but specifically to the bad guys, the pathogenic bacteria that thrive on refined sugars. When you eat that junk food, you're literally feeding those harmful organisms. It's going to negatively affect your neurotransmitter production in a major way. And take full advantage of the cold weather. but pair that cold exposure with significantly more physical activity, whether it's inside your home or outside in nature. This is super important because so many people during the winter months just completely stop exercising because it's too cold outside and they stay trapped indoors, becoming sedentary. Now, even though vitamin D is only one piece of this complex puzzle, and it's actually not the biggest lever you can pull, morning light exposure is, vitamin D is still critically important, not just to prevent depression, but for regulating over 2,000 genes throughout your entire body. Your health and happiness are completely worth fighting for. If this video opened your eyes to what's really causing winter depression and how you can take back control naturally, do me a huge favor right now. Smash that like button so this information can reach more people who are struggling. Drop a comment below and tell me what you're going to implement first. And if you want more videos on taking charge of your health naturally without relying on medications, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss life-changing content like this. I'm here to help you thrive, not just survive.